Okay, we're going to shim this lock open. This is a quick-set deadbolt lock, and quick-set's a good lock to start practicing shimming on. If you don't have a quick-set, you can use a different type of lock, of course. But this again is a deadbolt. It has the standard tail piece on it. We want to take the tail piece off and put that aside. Just line your parts up like you always do, so you don't lose any of them. Then we're going to want to shoot some WD-40. We can shoot some right in the face of the plug. Might try to shoot a little bit right in the back of the plug here between the plug and the shell. So we'll put a little shot of WD-40 right into the keyway, and then I'm going to just put a little here on the back of the plug. Now in shimming the lock, what we're going to do is we're going to push this shim stock between the top pin and the bottom pin. So we're all familiar with the pin stacks. We have a bottom pin, a top pin, and then there'll be a spring. So we're going to use a pick or something to lift up on this bottom pin, and at the same time we're going to push this shim stock between the top pin and the bottom pin. So that's what our objective is. And then once we get the first one done, then we'll pick up the next one. So the next pin stack could be like this. Again, spring on top. We just come in underneath that. This would be the back of the lock on this side. So we would come in with a pick, lift up on that bottom pin until we can get our shim stock to slide through there. So that once we get all 5 of the bottom pins picked up to where the shim stock can slide in between the top pin and the bottom pin, we'll create a shear line with all of the pin stacks. Okay, so to shim the lock, we take our shim stock, which is just a very thin piece of foil that's slightly curved to match the curvature of the plug. We push it in back of the plug, right here, right behind the pin stacks. You don't want to go down the side of the pin stacks. It won't do any good. You got to get right dead center on the back of the back pin. It could be a number 5 pin or it could be a number 6 pin, but you want to line up on that back pin. And we're going to use a rake pick, and we're going to just go in there and gently rake those pins and see if we can get that shim stock to slide in there between the top pin and the bottom pin. Okay, there it moved a little bit. I'm not sure if you picked that up on the video or not. You can back it up and look at that. But the shim stock moved a little bit, so we've separated the number 5 pin stack. And now we'll just continue and try to do the number 4. It moved again, so we got the number 4. There's a 3. There's a 2. Should be just one left. This is a 5-pin lock. And there we saw it slide in. So we raked all 5 of the pin stacks. And we can see that now we can turn the plug. We don't need the shim stock in there any longer. We can just go ahead and pull that out, put it aside. Then we can get a follower and we can push the plug out. Now we want to keep the lock like it is. We want to make a key for the pins that are in here, so we don't want to drop the pins. That's probably the most important thing in doing this. If the customer wants you to make a key for the existing lock and not change that, do not drop the pins. If you drop the pins, you're not going to know which order they went in. You're going to have to go to a different lock on that building that uses the same key and start over. Okay, so just like we learned in the previous courses, We're going to just take our follower and push our plug out. Now I'm going to look and see which direction the top of the plug is. Now I'm going to hold it so that the top of the plug is up. That way I'm not going to drop out any of my pins. Now the way I go about getting the pins out, I just put them on my mat here, and I start with the number 1 right here. It's number 1 pin, number 2 pin, number 3 pin, number 4 pin, and number 5 pin. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I kind of just use my mat like that so I know which order the pins are in. Now as we get started decoding the lock, you can look at your pin kit and get some idea as to what to expect as far as the readings that we're going to get on our dial caliper. If we have an 005 kit for a quick set lock, the number 1 pin is a 170. You can see that an 003 kit, you might get a 171. Number 2 is a 195, and then the quick sets, or the 03 kit's a 192. 3 is 220, 216, 240, it's the same 240, 265, 261, and 285. So if you look at the largest numbers, like on the number 1 kit, there is a 171 here. But then the 005 kit normally has the larger numbers. 195 is the largest of these two. 220, 240 is the same. 265 is bigger than the 03 kit, and 285, of course, is the same. But the measurements of the pins are not going to be any larger, or should not be any larger, than these numbers, normally speaking. Normally they're going to be slightly less because of wear, and but they should be pretty close to these numbers. So let's check and see what we have. Okay, so let's see what kind of measurements we get. We'll take the number 1 pin. I'm going to put it right there on a nice flat surface so I can get a fairly easy measurement. And I'm showing 219. Actually, it just went to 220 for the number 1 pin. So if we look at our chart as to what we might expect, we can see that 220 is a number 3 pin. So I'm going to write down number 3 on the number 1 position. Okay, so I'm going to take the number 2 pin and measure it next. And you can see that we have a 195. And I'm going to put that back, and then if we look at our chart, we can see that a 195 is a 2. So I'm going to write down a 2 for the number 2 position. Okay, so we have a 3 in the 1 spot and then a 2 in the number 2 spot. Okay, so we'll do the number 3 spot, number 3 chamber. And I got 194.5 is what that is measuring right there. So that's right at 195 ended. So that is also going to be a number 2. So the number 3 spot is a 2. Then if we look at the number 4, number 4 measures 263 and a half. 263 and a half. So put that back, we can see that the closest one is going to be a 265. So the number 4 cut will be a 5. Number 5 pin showing 240 and a half. It's probably not in there quite straight because that's actually over, a little bit over at 240, and I'm sure that's what it is. So we can take it and try to hold it straighter and see if we can get a better measurement, but it's 240 and a half, showing 240 and a half there, but I'm sure that's supposed to be a 240. You can see that it's not close to anything else. It can't be a 220 and it can't be a 265. It has to be a 240. So that's a number 4 cut. So now we know the cuts for our lock: 3, 2, 2, 5, 4. Now this is a set of depth keys for a quick set lock. You can get these for basically every major manufacturer. You can cut your own, and I explain how to do that in another video using the code cutting machine. But starting out, maybe the code cutting machines are kind of expensive. Maybe you cannot afford a code cutting machine starting out. And you can get depth and space keys. If you buy these, especially if you buy these off the internet, you want to really be careful that they guarantee the precision of the keys, because they need to be within really 0.002 of an inch. And I know there's a lot of keys sold, depth keys sold, that are they're really basically no good because they're just so far off a spec that you buy them and you cut your key and they won't work. So if you do buy keys off the internet, whoever you buy them from, make sure that they will guarantee the accuracy. And then once you get your own code machine, you can cut your own. We're set up on the key machine. I've tried to really get a close-up of this so that I can demonstrate this. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to use our depth keys, and we're going to cut the key 3, 2, 2, 5, 4. So we'll put a blank into the jaw on the right side, and then we're going to, because the number 2 was the first cut, there's no number 1 cut. We'll go with number 2, the number 2 depth key, and see if you can. They'll be stamped somewhere on your depth keys. They'll be stamped. If you make your own, then you'll stamp your own. But see, there's a 2 right there. This is the number 2 depth key, and all of the cuts are spaced out correctly, and they're all number 2 cuts all the way across the key. So we'll put that into this jaw on the left side that I demonstrated earlier, how we put the key that is our guide goes on the left side. And then we're going to cut all the way across all number 2 cuts. And our next cut, the next deepest cut, is number 3. Because our next deepest cut is number 3 cut, we'll put the number 3 depth key in. We'll lock it down in the left jaw. Now we only have one number 3 cut. You remember our first cut was a number 3. So we're going to just cut one of these, and it'll be in the number 1 position. Okay, and then we will key up the number 4 key, because we have a 5 and a 4 to cut. So this is the number 4. Now, on our key, we have a 5 and a 4 in the 4 and the 5 position. So I'm going to go ahead and cut both of these down to a number 4. I want to take this opportunity to show what's happened to this key here that we're making. That you can see there's a real straight cut here. It's almost a 90-degree cut. When I made the number 4 cut here and here, this angle is not the right angle that we need to allow this key to go in. And when the key goes in the lock, when it hits right here, it's going to stop the key. So we need to, we can use a file, or you can use your key machine and go ahead and shave that up a little bit so that we don't have a hooker right there. Okay, we've corrected that so we don't have a hooker. Now we need to, and we'll work on that again because this particular cut is the one that we're still working on, is a number 5. So you can see that this is our number 5 depth key. Put that in there. And again, with the one that we're concerned about now is the number 4 space here. We need to make that a number 5. So we have our 5 depth key in there. So we'll turn our machine on. And then again, I want to show that there's a problem right here with this angle being too straight up and down. This key is not going to go in. So we could either use our file and hand file this so it is not so steep, we have a flatter slope on it, or we can use the key machine. So normally I just use a key machine and try to taper that off a little bit. Okay, now I'm not totally happy with that, the way that came out. So I'm gonna just bump that with the file a little bit. But first we'll go ahead and use our deburring brush and get this slag off of here, this little bit of burring that's on the key. So you can see what I'm doing here, that the guard still here blocks the brush a little bit, but we have our deburring brush here, and we simply just brush the key a little bit. We don't want any loose metal pieces getting in the lock to interfere with the operation of the lock. But let me grab my file and touch this up a little bit on this one spot here. I keep a file handy. And I'll just bump that a little bit. Smooth that out. And then also, I'm not real happy with this spot here. That looks better there. So there's our key, and we grab our lock here and Either where you can see it, put our key in there, and there it goes. Key is, our new key turns the lock. Okay, and again, it was on the back of this lab kit as to where we got the information about these cuts. We can see that 2 would be a 195, 3 is a 220, 4 is a 240, 5 is a 265. Okay, I'm going to shim this quick set lock open, and we're going to try to use just use a rake pick on this one. I'll try to use the same shim stock again. See if it'll work for another lock. Okay, so we're going to get the rake pick, go to that back pin, okay, there it goes. Hopefully I was able to see that move on the video. Okay, I'm going to try another one. There's another one. Okay, there's another one. This should be 3. There's another one. That should be 4. There's 5. So the lock, the plug should turn. There it is. So turn it a little bit. Go ahead and pull the shim stock out. And we will be able to take that that plug out of there. Like so. There it is. Oftentimes, if this is all you have, it's just a small cylinder like this to hold on to. It's easier to put it into a vise to do, but I'm going to try to do it right here. Hopefully, you know, hold it like here close to the camera, you'll be able to see it easier. So I'm going to use I'm going to use just a blank key. This is a Schlage cylinder, and we got a Schlage key blank SC1. I sprayed the lock with WD-40. I'm going to push the key all the way in, and then I'm going to just put my thumb and forefinger against the plug and kind of pry the key out, and also shake the key at the same time. Kind of just twist the key back and forth. Not much to hold the foil on this one until we get it underneath that first pin. Okay, there it went. Under the 5 pin, 4th pin, 3rd pin, 2nd pin, and the lock is out. Plug is out, just that simple. So that's the advantage of shimming, that many Schlage locks are very tough to pick. And so, you know, this is another method, is using the shim stock to get those open. Please take just a moment to like the video and also subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.